Welcome to the NCAA Wrestling Rules presentation. Because the 2018-19 season is not a rules change year, this presentation will focus on reminders, selected rules interpretations, and points of emphasis. If, after watching this video, you have questions, you may email Secretary Rules Editor Chuck Barbee, whose email address can be found in the front of the NCAA Wrestling Rules book. Video clips shown in this presentation are being utilized for educational purposes only and are not meant to critique individual wrestlers, coaches, or referees. These important reminders will help referees, coaches, and fans to have better access and understanding to the NCAA wrestling rules. NCAA member institutions and referees have access to the Arbiter Center Mat website. Center Mat is the dedicated source for rules interpretation communication and rules education articles. On the Center Mat website, there are currently several documents that will assist in helping you to review the current rules and rules interpretations for the upcoming season. On Center Mat, you're able to download an official copy of the NCAA Wrestling Rules book and the most current version of the Wrestling Casebook. As a reminder, the Casebook is a dynamic document and will be updated throughout the season. Each time there is a major update to the Center Mat website or the Casebook, you will receive an email notification that new content is posted. When reviewing Casebook updates, always check page 5, which lists the location of the new interpretation and also all previous interpretations made that season. Since the Center Mat website is unavailable to wrestling fans and members of the media, please take note that the NCAA Rules Committee does provide a public site containing rules information and resources. Please feel free to share the following web address to any and all individuals interested in learning and understanding wrestling competition rules. Throughout the upcoming year, the committee will be preparing for its April 2019 annual rules meeting. At this meeting, the committee will consider possible rule changes that will be implemented during the 2019-20 and 2020-21 seasons. As a courtesy, the committee would like to share with you a tentative timeline for the upcoming rules change cycle. In order to continue to improve the implementation and fairness of the video review process, the Rules Committee is issuing the following points of emphasis. There are 3 important points related to video review. Number 1, coach reviews must be requested immediately after the action in which there is a perceived error. The Rules Committee understands this is challenging for coaches, but the immediate request requirement is integral to the fair application of video review, since delayed requests are often inappropriate attempts to influence the outcome of a call or a match. Second, the coach video review challenge should be indicated by executing a proper throw of the brick, as outlined in the rules book, Rule 3.13.9.d. The following video clips demonstrate well-executed video review brick throws.
2-0 lead with almost 2.5 minutes of riding time. We have 3 counts for neutral danger, 2 takedown. We have a coach's challenge now.
Great program. Well, I tell you, this little whip over there, and now he's dropped down to a single, and that's close. There it goes. There goes the brick out.
All right, similar situation, just a reaction time call. What do you think on that one? Do you think it was a takedown? It looked
very similar to the last.
As is demonstrated in the previous video clips, the purpose of the brick throw is to inform the referee, not the scorekeeper, that a coach challenge is being requested. The brick should never be thrown forcefully at the wrestlers or referee. The improper execution or forceful throwing of a video review brick both jeopardizes the effectiveness of the video review process and could result in unsportsmanlike conduct violations being issued. Finally, once a video review brick has been thrown onto the mat, the coach may not enter the restricted zone to attempt to retrieve the brick. The brick shall only be returned to the coach by the referee. Entering the restricted zone to attempt to retrieve a video review brick will, at a minimum, result in a control of mat violation. As Rule 3.22.5 states, wrestlers shall not compete in more than 6 matches in one competition day. The responsibility for ensuring that the daily match limit is not exceeded is held equally by both the coaching staff and the tournament or event personnel. The Rules Committee is adamant that this rule is to be strictly adhered to. Violations of the daily match limit may be reported to the Secretary Rules Editor. As a reminder, individuals who advance in a bracket because of an opponent not being able to compete because of a match limit will advance in the bracket but receive no advancement and/or bonus points if applicable. When a wrestler is called for an unsportsmanlike conduct call in the post-match period, the rules require both a signal and the notification to the coach. If a second act of unsportsmanlike conduct occurs before the coach has been verbally notified, then both acts are considered a simultaneous violation and receive only one penalty. In the upcoming video, you'll see a wrestler who commits an act of unsportsmanlike conduct by spiking his headgear, followed a short bit later by a second unsportsmanlike conduct act of pulling down his singlet straps within the competition circle. Since the referee did not notify the coach verbally after the first act, the second act is considered a simultaneous violation, and the wrestler is penalized only one time. The Rules Committee is adamant that all unsportsmanlike conduct acts be penalized appropriately. However, it is very important in the post-match period that the verbal notification occur. Rule 5.2.5, requiring the notification, is to ensure both the coach and wrestler are aware of the penalty and afforded the opportunity to realign the behavior and avoid unnecessary subsequent violations. As a reminder, this notification is only required for wrestlers on the mat during the pre- and post-match periods. Referees issuing unsportsmanlike conduct calls during the match itself may verbally notify the coach, but they are not required to do this, since the coach is obligated to be viewing the match and all the referee signals during the match itself. The control of mat area rules state that all team personnel must stay in their reserved zone, as outlined in diagrams 3 and 4 of the rules book. These rules are in place to ensure fair competition and so that referees and competitors may focus on the match without unnecessary match stoppages, distractions, or negative influences. Even with strict control of mat rules in place, the rules book clearly indicates times in which leaving the reserved zone is acceptable. We will now take a look at the rules applicable to these situations. Rule 3.20.4 indicates each of the instances in which a coach may leave the reserved zone. Let's now go over each one of them individually. Since in-match errors have a deadline in which they must be corrected, the rules allow a penalty-free opportunity for coaches, referees, and scorers table workers to stop the match to ensure the timing and scoring are correct. AR 3-17 in the casebook describes a proper match stoppage as being when the coach approaches the scorer's table and notifies the scorer's table of the request for a timing or scoring review. When this request is executed properly, the rules require the referee to stop the match when no significant action is occurring. Rule 3.19.2 allows the coach to leave the reserved zone and approach the scorer's table to indicate to the scorer that they would like to speak to the referee. If the coach is correct and a rules application error was made, the correction is made by the referee and there is no penalty to the coach. If, after explaining the error to the referee, it is determined that there was no rules application error, then the coach is charged with questioning a rules application violation. As is the case with many rules related to match stoppages, the penalty for an unsuccessful rules application challenge is in place to discourage the unethical use of Rule 3.19.2 by requesting frivolous match stoppages in an attempt to alter the flow or outcome of a match. The third reason a coach may leave the reserve zone is when the referee indicates a charged injury timeout for a wrestler. As a reminder, even though coaches may leave the reserve zone during a charged injury timeout, they may never coach an injured wrestler and may not be near the wrestler while the medical personnel is performing their assessment. The purpose of the no coaching an injured wrestler rule is to allow medical personnel uninterrupted time to conduct as accurate of an assessment as possible. The penalty for coaching an injured wrestler is a control of mat violation. During a video review, coaches may leave the reserved zone but are required by rule to follow referee instructions at all times. Additionally, coaches should never enter the competition circle unless approved by the referee. Coaches are allowed to leave the reserve zone at the end of the match, but should avoid entering the competition circle and always follow referee instructions. In tournaments, coaching personnel who are not in the designated corner shall not go onto the mat or risk receiving a control of mat violation or an unsportsmanlike conduct call. The following videos will demonstrate two scenarios in which coaches left the reserve zone during the post-match period to celebrate a victory. The first video is an example of a celebration that is legal within the rules, because the coaches left the reserve zone during the post-match period but did not enter the competition circle. The second video is an example of a type of post-match celebration that is not acceptable within the rules, since the coach left the reserve zone and entered into the competition circle. In the upcoming video clip, you will see an example of the neutral danger zone and neutral danger signal. As you watch this clip, keep in mind Rule 4.2.3 and all associated interpretations, which state any time a wrestler exposes his shoulders to the mat in the neutral position at any angle less than 90 degrees beyond reaction time, the referee will execute the neutral danger signal. Any wrestler still in the danger zone after the completion of the signal is considered to be controlled in the danger zone, and the opponent is awarded a takedown. Please note two important points of emphasis. First, the wrestler in the danger zone must be in the zone beyond reaction time before any signal is announced. Second, once in the danger zone beyond reaction time, the rules require a verbal announcement of the word danger, followed by a count of 1, 2, 3. This is the minimum rule requirement for the danger signal. Referees should also adhere to nationally established referee mechanics on this rule, as indicated by National Coordinator of Officials Tim Shields. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, in-match errors have a deadline in which corrections may be made. The information in Rule 3.18 outlines the correction of various errors that might occur during an individual match or team competition match. Rule 3.18.2 indicates that in a dual meet, the correction of all match errors shall be made before the start of the next match. What this means is that any error that is not corrected prior to the start of the next match becomes uncorrectable, and whatever results are recorded are permanent. For example, two teams are competing at the 125-pound match, and at the conclusion of that match, wrestler A wins 7-0 and is credited with a regular decision. Later on in the dual meet, the coach checks with his team scorekeeper and believes his 125-pound wrestler was shorted 1 match point and should have won 8-0 and be credited with a major decision. In this scenario, the 125-pound match became permanent once the 133-pound match began. Once the last match of a dual meet has finished, the results of the last match become permanent when the referee has either signed a physical scorebook or acknowledged to the scorer's table that the electronic scorebook is final, which is completed immediately after the last wrestler's hand has been raised. Rule 3.18.2 also provides the deadline for correcting in-match errors during tournaments. During a tournament, the correction of all match errors shall be made by the referee before both wrestlers leave the mat or the bout sheet leaves the scorer's table. To summarize the two deadline possibilities for tournaments, if, during the tournament, a match finishes and both wrestlers leave the mat, then the match results become permanent. Or if one or both wrestlers stay on the mat to question the results of a match, and the concern is fully adjudicated by the referee, and the referee indicates the results are final by instructing that the bout sheet may now leave the scorer's table, the results then become permanent. If one or both wrestlers stay on the mat and the bout sheet has been prematurely sent to the head table, the referee shall retrieve the bout sheet and address the concern. The Rules Committee has stricken 3 inaccurate words in Rule 3.18.4 regarding clerical errors. The stricken words are noted on the screen, and Rule 3.18.4 is addressing clerical errors in team scoring only. Now that we understand the proper intent of clerical errors, let's look at an example of what would be considered a clerical error. If the scorekeeper of a dual meet adds the official team points up incorrectly and indicates the wrong winner, this error may be corrected and adjusted when discovered. Keep in mind the individual scores in each match may not be altered after the deadline. This clerical error involves only the correction of the adding of the official team points, as indicated by the permanent and unalterable results of each individual match. Hands to the face continues to be a strong point of emphasis for the 2018-19 season. Because Rule 5.3 indicates that a forceful action to the face or the gouging or poking of the eyes is unnecessary roughness, hands to the face should be called at all times, not just when it's executed forcefully. A wrestler that places his hands on, in, and around the eye area is considered to be poking the eyes. In these next 2 videos, you will see numerous examples of hands to the face.
Championship round, 125 pounds, coming to mat number 4 in the 8-9 match. In the red, from Minnesota, returning to the national finals, Ethan Lezak, his opponent. In the green, from Oregon State, Ronnie Ressler. Come on, Ronnie! On mat number
number 3.
now wrestling on mat number 6, 197.
As both a reminder and a point of emphasis, the side headlock is a legal technique, but wrestlers are required to use the hold to put a wrestler on his back within the 5-second count verbal and visual referee count. Additionally, for any wrestler gaming the rule by repeatedly locking, releasing, and relocking, the rules allow the referee to immediately penalize for stalling. In the next video, you will see a different variation of the side headlock, but regardless of the application, the wrestler is required to put his opponent on his back within the 5 count or release the hold.
Now wrestling on mat number 6, 197.
This rule remains unchanged for 2018-19, and the Rules Committee asks referees to continue to be diligent in enforcing this rule that states, in all rear standing situations, it is the offensive wrestler's responsibility to make an effort to return the defensive wrestler to the mat. In this video clip, you will see an example of this wrestling scenario and how the rule is applied. This concludes the 2018-19 rules presentation. If you have additional questions, please contact NCAA Secretary Rules Editor Chuck Barbee. And thanks for watching.